Hello and welcome to AdaPulse, the channel that brings you all the news and all the updates that are in and around the Cardano ecosystem. Earlier today, I caught up with Ray from Stake Pool. He runs a saturated pool and he's also one of the Sundaeswap scoopers. He's weighed in on many arguments when it comes to multi-pool operations versus single pool operations. So it was good to dig into about that, but also a little bit about his charity. It's for a great cause, so we could really look in and see, now that he's got a saturated pool, what sort of donations we can expect to see going to charity. The internet was a bit iffy at times, so it can be a bit choppy, but I think I've made it bearable. But that's enough for that from now. I'm Josh from ATM. Let's dig straight into this. So, well, welcome to AdaPulse, I guess. And
what time is it over there for you?
It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow, it's so amazing, huh? All these different time zones.
People are all over the place. You don't know what time zones anyone's in. Like, I was in Space Place once, but it's at 1 in.the morning. So I can't do that.
That's probably the best time to be on Space Place, about 1 in.the morning.
I just start a bit of just quickly about you though.
Thank you.
Yeah. What got you into crypto?
Yeah, what got me into crypto was March of 2020, and I was in Hawaii.
Nice.
And the pandemic was starting to make itself known, right? I had been in Hawaii for about 3 or 4 months at that point. And so I would go there to do projects and help my partner out. I actually sold my business this past year. So I was getting ready. Yeah, it was a big move. I've been running that business for 17 years. So it was amazing. Baby. Yeah, my baby. It still is. I still have contact with the business, and I actually still do work for the business. So what brought me to crypto was
why Cardano in particular, really, I guess.
Okay, why Cardano? So after all the research into artificial intelligence and who's spending the most money, I discovered through a trail that led me to an article about Cardano. It was talking about Cardano specifically, and Charles Hoskinson was in there. And he was talking about Cardano, about the blockchain crypto industry in general. And I started putting 2 and 2 together, that blockchain was being prepared and preparing itself to be the substrate for artificial intelligence, for a global artificial intelligence operating system. And so over time, I realized that it was the community of Cardano, the heart-centered community of Cardano, that drew me into wanting to participate and contribute.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that it drew you in like that. Like for me, it was just as I got in, it's as it all started. I just found it's like, oh, everyone's so helpful and nice, and in a way, we're all competitors, really, but everyone helping each other.
Here it is. I'll tell you what it is in a nutshell. The Mandala project actually helped me to understand more completely what I was doing here. And when I saw that Mandala was building an enlightenment simulator, and that they had partnered with Unreal, they had partnered with Singularity, they had partnered with Spaka. They wanted to come in and serve the ecosystem by collaborating with its backbone, the stake pool operators, and bringing to the community an opportunity to not only have fun and gamify DeFi and gamify the staking experience, but also offer a tool for allowing the individuals to come from their own personal sovereignty and serve themselves and those around them with the greater good. So I saw at that point that I was in a community that, in my opinion, had the best chance of being the best parents for the emergence of artificial intelligence and a new consciousness on this planet. I think that this new consciousness is coming through artificial intelligence is going to be very much like a child. So it's a question of how we raise and work with this consciousness. So I see the Cardano community as like the best community for raising artificial intelligence.
It's surprising to hear you say that is the reason it brought you to Cardano was artificial intelligence, because that's not what I had you down for at all. I know you've always come across as quite a sort of a mindful, maybe insightful kind of guy, maybe sort of Buddhist type tendencies, I'd say, in some of the things you've said. So AI. I guess it makes sense now you say it. It's consciousness basically, and bringing consciousness to a blockchain. So your pool Grow is a charity pool, so it's a great cause, Save the Children. So yeah, tell me about why you chose Save the Children. All the charities I ever give to are sort of children charities, so to see that, I think, was really cool. So, I mean, I'm just a bit Michael Jackson like that. So I was just wondering why did you choose Save the Children?
I love it. I remember when I was a kid, I was really young. I was in Germany, and I must have been 5 years old or something. And I remember at the time, there are these commercials that we would see on TV for UNICEF at the time, I believe. They were basically showing us that there was poverty in the world, that there were people suffering, and that we could make a difference. And at the time, their marketing slogan was, "For the price of a cup of coffee, look what you can do." And so me and my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, this made a really strong impression on us, and it stayed with us through the years as we grew up. It really became obvious when I became a father, and I started spending time in huis, we call them in Hawaii, huis, like groups of children learning together and being with other ohana. Ohana is the Hawaiian word for family. So this is happening, and I come into the Cardano, see that what Cardano is trying to do is maximize the flow of wealth, from a decentralized community that has the best chance at flipping the narrative on poverty. And how do we do that? We incentivize greed and self-interest through our innovation to align with positive outcomes. It's so elegant, really. We're not going to get rid of greed and self-interest. Maybe incentivize greed to participate. And because they're participating, there's a flow of wealth. There's a transfer of that wealth. They get something for that participation, and we get their energy and the activity of their wealth to move through the layers of our innovation and cause a positive outcome. And so I realized that if I could establish a bridge where a flow of wealth started to happen into impoverished communities, I can actually serve a greater common good with the energy of the ecosystem and find balance. And that's where it began for me. It was when the light went off, and I could see that we could actually serve others with the flow of wealth coming through the ecosystem that we were building. And that's when I took on the journey of starting to not only donate to Save the Children and align more deeply with their mission, but also take on sponsorship of these these children here.
Yeah, I was going to get to those. Yeah, it looks like is that all of them on the back? So obviously I've looked at your website and you sponsor a lot of children. And that's all of them?
Not all of them, no. That's 24 of them. We're sponsoring 28.
Okay.
And they are 4 of them are yet to be received in the packages that Save the Children send you when you're sponsoring.
I think I know the things.
They have these like communications and things.
Yeah, and you can write them letters and things like that. Yeah, I think I did one with Christian Aid before. Now, I think for me, I think you seemed like one of the first to start putting your donations on the blockchain. So I saw it on your website, but was it Sense that did it first?
It was, there's about maybe at the time, 2 or 3 of us that I'm aware of that were doing Save the Children specifically. Everybody was looking for how are they going to do this and share this experience, and really fully commit to being there for the community on behalf of the community. And I think where Grow sort of set a precedent was in establishing more trust with our delegators, with the community. And the way to do that is to show them that this wasn't some way to get more stake and make more money, that this was actually an opportunity for the community to participate in serving a greater good and become part of a story of saving children and sponsoring children and making a better world. But in order for that to work, there had to be trust. And I was able to start creating proof of donations so that people could just go to the blockchain. They can go to my website and see who I had donated to, how much I had donated to, and when I donated to them for themselves, so they can see for themselves that it was happening. And then to see that develop, it's really come a long ways, honestly. There's not only proof of donations that we can do, but applications are now being built to track your money as it leaves your hands and goes through the system and ends up in the hands of the recipients, and how it is spent according to every detail on food, on clothing, on shelter, on education, on paying staff. So you know that how the money was spent, how much of it was spent where, and you're even able to measure the performance of your donation. Really, at the end of the day,
like
performance in terms of
like a return of asset to a certain degree. What return? How much good did you do with that set amount of money?
Yeah, exactly. As we roll this solution out to 5 million children in Ethiopia through the Ministry of Education, I saw what the next largest use case was in crypto. It's in Ethereum. It's about 750,000 people use case over there. So this certainly really, an unprecedented large global scale use case. So I see that Cardano is also building infrastructure along with World Mobile and others to really serve the communities that these children are going to grow up into. At some point, these children are going to be adults and they're going to be participating in the world. And my gut tells me that at least more than one of the children that you see here are going to be with us in this community in Cardano. In fact, some of them already know about us. I write to them through the letters that we write to them, and sharing with them that these donations that they're receiving that are helping them, they're not just coming from some white guy in Oregon. They're coming from a global community of people that are supporting them. It's a family. They have a family, is what I'm telling them.
Yeah, I mean, that must be really warming for them to hear. It's not just one person. You've got this load of people have pulled together to awesome. Make it happen. Yeah, that must be a warming feeling. So, everyone's got different structures with their charities. Now, your website is saying 100% profit?
Yes, 100% profits. I could do a screen share if you wanted to, and I can show you exactly what that looks like. and how that plays out, if you want to go into that detail.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. Because so first, I mean, all your donations are on the feeds that's on your website. So that's all the ones that are recorded on the blockchain at least. So that goes back to what, January 21?
Yep, all of that is up to date through January. My sister is helping me to post all of that metadata and turn all of the receipts into metadata. So we're a little behind. We're about maybe 3-week backlog right now with all the donations that we've made since then. So you're going to see everything through, I think, the beginning of January there. And then everything that we've done, there's quite a bit actually.
The way you've done it, it looks like going through the feed, it looked like you've done it in batches. So is it a certain amount per epoch? Is that how you manage?
That is how you know why I chose per epoch is why. The price of ADA is a moving target, right? It's constantly changing. And I have to convert for sponsorships. I have to convert to fiat still.
Yeah, I was confused with the donation side of it because you've got in text on your website, $10,500 donated to Save the Children, and then you've got 20,919 ADA. But on the feed, you've only got sort of just over $1,100 on there, and only like 2,200 odd ADA.
So if you go through that feed and you add up all those numbers, they should add up to the same.
Yeah, and maybe it's not showing for some reason, but yeah, that was all I got from there to on the last one. Looked like it was December 21.
January of this year. It should be the last one, the early January.
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I mean,
oh, you know what that is? Oh no, I totally forgot about this. No, what happened here is
where's the money?
Oh,
where's the money, Ray?
You know what? I can't fix the fact that when my assistant, who's helping post this to the blockchain, they put in the wrong date. It's supposed to be January 11, 2022. So I actually have to go.
ADA, I think it was. Yeah, there was a few of 8. Right. Okay. So you're saying, so it's 100% profit goes to charity. So when did you start turning a profit? Obviously, your pool has been on a bit of a ride since it first started. So yeah, when did you start turning a profit?
Okay. So I went for about 7 months, just at $1 mil, $3 mil, $5 mil, $1 mil, $2 mil, $1 mil, $5 mil, right? Just skirting along that edge.
Must be nice.
It's just painful to have a whole epoch with no blocks.
You're telling me.
So yeah, my profit started in December of 2020. I started seeing a profit for the pool. December of 2020 is when I first started seeing a profit.
So what were the figures? Sorry to dive into your. Well, the only reason I dig in this much detail is I do believe charities should be held at a higher level scrutiny than most. So that's the only reason I'm digging through your figures. But so yeah, so what was
you should, bro. I honestly want you to, if you want to spend the time and audit me. I am totally open to the audit transparent process.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, because if, say, maybe not you or any charity pool out there, if they get audited and find out that it's not above board or it's not what they say, that's going to look bad on every charity pool out there, including, right. So everyone's just going, oh, they just say they're charity. They don't give to charity. It's just a load of rubbish. So, so I think that's something as a community we need to look out for, not just the charity pools.
I'm audited by the Cardano mission-driven pool group.
Okay.
I've been audited about 3 times so far. And at least 3 times. There's always somebody checking, I'm sure, but the mission-driven pool group has an audit process. So to be a member of that group, at least 10% of my income has to go to a charity, which I think is actually kind of low, and we're voting that to go up. Okay. And then you have to have a way of proving your donation. So there is a monthly or an epoch interval register that we say, this is what we gave and this is how we did it and here's our receipt. And then that gets pulled into the thing.
Is that publicly available?
That is, you have to go to Cardano Mission Driven Pool Group and actually see. It is a public Git that you can look through.
Okay.
Let me go see.
Because I mean, I think with that's something we lack in. There's as you know, there's loads of charity pools, but there isn't enough transparency there. So let's. Getting back to the figures. So you started drawing a profit in 2020, and so back in 2020, you were probably. I think you were probably doing about what 500 ADA an epoch.
First profit was epoch 240, and I had a profit of $14.43. I had a stake at the time of 18 million ADA. That's when it started to go up. I had that big whale move into the pool, who's 12 million ADA.
It's 409. The pool rewards were 490 for epoch 240.
Yeah, unbelievable. Wow. Look at this.
But you've done it in dollars. So I don't know how much ADA that was back then.
I can tell you what the price of ADA, my sheet keeps track of the 5-day moving average for epoch 240 was 0.197.
Oh, wow.
That's what the price of ADA was at that time.
So,
our decentralization factor was 0.32. We weren't even decentralized yet as a stake pool operator community. It's amazing how much we've grown. We really, truly have grown.
But you've grown as well. So if you're looking at if you're turning a profit in epoch 240 with 490 pool rewards. So I presume your personal money, your rewards that you get for your pledge, for example, that's not included in the charity donations.
So here, the part of the donations, the part of the pool's income that is going to donations is the fixed fee plus the variable fee,
right,
of the pool.
Okay, so it's basically pool rewards only.
Yeah, pool rewards only.
Right. Now, fast forward to now, you're looking at sort of 1,700, between 1,700 ADA and epoch. So am I right in thinking we should be expecting something in the realms of 1,000 to 1,200 ADA donated every 5 days?
But for epoch 319, we had a total income of $1,677. That's what we're expecting. Let me go see what I did.
That hasn't been published on AdaPulse just yet.
I was expected to make 60.65 blocks. And I have a re-block performance of 62. I'm just going to go double check that.
It's like 63.
Sure how many I made here. Okay, yeah, 60, looks like 63 actually. 63. You know how many I was assigned for? 75.
Oh, wow.
That's how many orphans there were, goddammit. I see what's happening.
I've never lost a slot battle, or I've never been in one, at least.
You know why? I learned why. The winner of the slot is the pool with the lowest VRF hash.
I thought it was the highest, actually.
It's the shortest VRF hash. Whatever the shortest VRF hash wins the slot. And then also, apparently, and this is what I didn't know, that the protocol is also leaning on the small pool. It's actually rooting for the small pool. If you have less stake and you get into a slot battle, you're more likely to win the battle because you have less stake. It's actually a thing. And so the reason the reason big pools are losing so many slot battles, if you talk to multi-pools and big pools, one of the things that you're going to hear across the board is that they lose more slot battles and that they have way more orphans. So I experienced a 13 to 16% block loss because I was losing the slot to small pools.
I mean, you can take a horse of water, but you can't make him delegate to ATM. I mean, that's... but it's funny, though. Actually, talking of, delegator sort of education, I was looking at our stats for our ROA between your pool and mine, and they are vastly similar. Your lifetime ROA is 4.55%.
Right. What's yours?
4.57.
Yours is 4.57?
Yep. So slightly above, but your monthly ROA is 3.581, which is a bit above me because I'm 3.178. But for two drastically different pools, I just thought those stats were eerily similar. And
it really truly is. I just broke my record. Actually, 63 is the most blocks I have ever made as a pool in a single epoch. 63 is my record. Before that, I think it was 62 or 60.
Congratulations.
So it's like, oh my God, right? This epoch is scary. I already have one orphan and I'm scheduled for 60. So I'm already under 100% right off the gate. Okay, so for 319, we had a active stake of 67 million. We had a 5-day moving average price of $1.07.
Oh.
We had a total income of $1,898.67. Of that, $922 is donated.
Because if you're, just brief look at the stats, I saw they started making payments here. In fact, it's funny you said 240 because that was the number I was looking at, thinking, well, this is when things started to change, and and you started averaging around 400-500 an epoch, and so I thought, well, if that's where it begins, then surely you're looking at everything above that is all profit. I mean, that's quite a good game. So you can get that into Save the Children every epoch. That wall of yours is going to be filled up with children's faces.
Because I've chosen two specific groups of children that are all kind of huddled together within in Ethiopia, these children are mostly in the Tigray region, or just south of Tigray, actually, right along that border of civil war that these guys have been in over there. So I'm just happy they're alive. I waited an entire year before I heard anything from any of my children. Because of the conflict in Ethiopia, I honestly didn't really fully know how they were doing. I was constantly in communication with Save the Children to find out what is going on. Why am I not hearing from the kids? What's happening? Are they okay? And so finally, they wrote back. And I look at the date on some of these letters. Some of these letters were written in May and June, and I received it in December. So
I don't know whose postal service is worse. Is it the US or is it?
They told me how it works. In some cases, the mail goes from me to a truck, to a plane, to Ethiopia, onto a truck, over to a bicycle rider, to a camel rider, to someone on foot into the village where the children are.
Wow. Okay. I know my internet's bad. My VoIP phone switched off a second ago, but I could hear you fine. So
okay, maybe we're being prioritized.
yeah. The throttling's in action. But talking of which, is that so? For those listening who don't know what we're on about, this is the thought or even the idea that some transactions can be prioritized by stake pool operators, more specifically in the Sundaeswap, where the scoops is what they're called, make that SPO money, and they may have an incentive to instruct their node to prioritize those transactions. Now, is this something? Have you heard of anyone doing this? Is this something you've heard of?
Oh, okay. So here's what's interesting. So the first question was, do I get a lot of flack for being a Sundaeswap scooper?
That
And
wasn't a
from some
question.
parts
That
of
was you do. You do. I know
yeah,
you do.
I know it's true. It's happening. I'm seeing something that the community at large doesn't get to see. I'm seeing very high quality SPOs participating as a team in trying to pull off a successful experience for the users of Sundaeswap. There is a very strong incentive to prioritize traffic for the DEX, absolutely. And it's financial, very strong incentive. Is that even with that incentive, we're still trying to play fair. All
So
of
yeah,
us.
so far as you're concerned, you haven't seen any hint of unfairness behind the scenes at Sundaeswap.
So this is why this is the case. Okay. What I'm seeing with the Sundaeswap Scooper team is a very heightened awareness of fairness for themselves and for Cardano as a whole, right? Because we know that we can prioritize transactions, and because we know that there's a strong incentive for it, we have to play back and forth between our job as scoopers at this point is to drain the backlog of transactions and provide a strong user experience. And at the same time, we cannot cut out Alice and Bob transactions. That person that just sent their grandma 1,000 ADA across the world, that has to happen too. We can't say no to you and yes to only Sunday. Can't do it. It's not fair. So what the scooper team has done, we've come up with a formula, a reward formula. So this reward formula, what it does is it takes the reward income that the highest earners are bringing in and distributes it through a treasury to the lowest earners to bring them up. Okay. So what we're trying to do is bring all the scoopers closer to a nominal average of rewards. Okay. What that does is it de-incentivizes the high performers from unfairly obtaining their income. Okay. When I mean unfairly, not just for scoopers, but for the rest of the network. So what's happened is we discovered a lot in this process. The scooper team discovered that mempool and FIFO can be changed and altered to select certain, not select individual. We can't select transactions, right? We can't say yes to this one and no to that.
You can have a special. You can have a mempool just for.
What you can do is you can have the scoop directly to the relay that is talking to your BP. You can do that. And so you have a higher likelihood of that transaction getting into the mempool of the BP. Okay. If you have a lot of stake, okay, meaning you have a block schedule where you're making a lot of blocks, you have a higher likelihood of getting the scoop into your next block. Okay. If you peer the scooper with a block producer, you have an even higher chance of getting a slightly higher chance of putting it into your own relay. Okay. So if you change the mempool of the relay, that's a public relay, and you make it smaller, okay, what that's doing is it is taking less of the public traffic and more of what you're bringing to it through that private peer. Okay. So what we've discovered as a team is that you can really game the system. You can exclude all public traffic and inject every single one of your blocks with only scooper transactions if you really want to kill it. And if you have like 5 BPs, like Cardanians or some of these other big guys that are scoopers, you can fill all of your blocks with only scoops, make a ton of money, and not be fair to the ecosystem of Cardano at all. Okay, that's the extreme side of it. Big pool, multi-pool, lots of stake, lots of blocks, all scooper transactions. And if that was happening, you can actually see it because we have a transparent blockchain. You can see what pool is doing what. It's so great. If you run DB sync against the pool IDs in scoopers, you can actually, Homer did this. He actually created a table that shows us who's making how many blocks, How many scooper transactions do we have in each of those blocks? And what percentage of our blocks are scooper transactions? So I want all of my blocks to be 100% full, right? That moment, I want to get as many transactions in there as I possibly can. Here is the problem. Here's the great thing that nobody knew. And this is why it's ironic that we're getting all this slack from the community and prioritizing transactions. Here's why this is so ironic to me. Because if we had done nothing, we would have been actually allowing the network to not include the larger transactions. The network, when it was built, okay, was not, obviously they knew they were going to bring smart contracts, and they knew that those transactions were going to be larger than the average Alice Bob transactions. What they didn't know was that their mempool FIFO buffer registration process that they have in the node.
Oh, you broke up a bit there.
I'm overwhelming the channel.
Yeah, that's it's all your energy. But yeah, so go on.
So this is good stuff, man. You know, I want everybody to know and see. So what we realized was that the larger, what I call fat transactions, were getting excluded. The irony is that the network was preferentially treating smaller transactions because it can fit more of them into a block. So the larger scooper transactions and other smart contract transactions that are 14 to 15 kilobits in size had to get set like by Tetris style. I call it Tetris. That's what the mempool is doing. It's playing Tetris with transactions and sticking all those transactions in the block. So the irony is that we're actually helping and learning how to throttle a balance between the large transactions and the smaller transactions. That balance, we're finding the equitable, fair balance for all. And that balance begins with us in the scooper team, right? Can you still see me okay?
Yeah, all good.
I'll end with this. As a single pool, I am one of the smallest pools in that group. Me and Blade and Homer and Fair, we're all single pools. Okay, K-blocks.
You were going to start a second pool though, weren't you? I thought you did.
I was starting. I may still do it. I'm only going to start a second pool if I feel like I have a high degree of loyalty at the high stake close to saturation. That's when I start the second pool. Because otherwise, what's the point, right? I can have two pools that are both 60, almost the same that I'm making now at 3.5. I can raise myself to 4, even 5%. If people really want to stay with Grow, they'll pay the extra fees. And what I noticed is that a lot of them do, honestly. A lot of them do. They want to be part of the mission. They know that those extra fees are going to donations. They're happy. They're happy. The people that aren't the people that aren't going to be as happy with the larger fees, okay, are the larger stakes, the big guys, the mills and overs,
the whales, yeah.
That they feel it's a bigger number to them, you know, because they have so much staked. So 0.5% shows up on their radar more than it would for someone with 100,000 or 10,000 or 20,000.
Because all that scoop, that's all profit, right? So that's all money. That's all more money for the charity. So
it's not. So to be clear and transparent at this point.
Okay.
So here's more transparency for Grow. All of the income that I'm making as a scooper, none of that is going to charity.
Okay. Right. Okay.
None of that is going to charity. I'll tell you where that's going. So what I've done, I entered.
You get an extension on your house.
Yeah, it's like what's happening is I'm in debt, and I've been in debt for 21 years, and I'm really looking forward to being out of debt because I'm paying more into interest and into finance charges and into the IRS, into the state of Hawaii taxes that I still owe than I am actually taking as income. So I'm very tired of that, and it is a stress in my life that I'm looking forward to solving.
I mean, I said a little while ago, the crypto world is full of rich people with no money. I mean, I mean, in fact, going back to the second pool idea, if you were to have a second pool, we're talking if 100% of your profits is going to charity, then we're looking at almost 100% of that pool's income going to charity, right? Obviously, you've got server costs.
You know what I might do?
A little bit.
You know what I would do with that second pool? Here's what I would do. I think this is what I would do. I have to talk with my team. I have a team now. So I can't make decisions completely by myself. But I would, with the second pool, I would donate all of the income from the pool fee to charity. All of it to charity. Yeah, the variable, all of it. But that's assuming that I have a good sized pool and I have a lot of that, right? So for starters, the pool would all be donation, all of it, because it's the 348 per epoch for now. And then as time went on, and let's say I got closer to saturation, the fee would go to donations, and because
it sounded like, first of all, you were saying keep the 348 and then donate the whole variable fee to charity. Or it sounded like you could do it the other way around.
All of the income, some part of all of the income will always go to charity, always. The question is how much. And a lot of, like, for example, right now, when I look at my expenses, I am actually not including all of the costs of my infrastructure. I'm actually donating more than I should be by the expense sheet that I have here. So I'm actually absorbing a portion of my infrastructure cost personally so that I can run the pool the way that I am. My sister has a mission that she wants to start working on. It's actually something that she's been working on for a while. She just wants to work on it through the community of Cardano. And that is to battle human sex trafficking.
Okay.
It's a big battle, and she's very close to that battle. And so she wants to bring awareness about human sex trafficking and help victims. That's what she does. She helps victims of human sex trafficking.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, that's a great cause as well. What's your view on multi-stake pool operators?
You can have too many multi pools that grab too much of the stake, right? Everything. The word I keep hearing is that most of the stake by percentage is being operated by 20 operators right now. So 20, 30 operators. A lot of those pools, those larger pool groups are with Sunday, of course, right? Because they won the vote. They won the vote by ADA stake, weighted ADA stake. So I think that for me right now, I'm okay but only because a lot of the stake are with operators that are really passionate about Cardano and are really here to make it awesome and protect the network right now. Okay, so right now it's okay. But the problem with that is that we're starting to lean more on trust. And I can tell that a lot of the community, especially the community that is very, very passionate about decentralization. The frustration that I see coming from that side of the community, a lot of those people are also single pool operators, is that we don't want to be in a position where we're having to trust people individually so much, especially as our community gets larger. We can't just be trusting everybody. That's why we're building a trustless system, so that we can serve people without having to go through the trust factor of each of those people, right? It would take too long to develop that much trust. So the protocol has to be able to do it. The code should be able to do it. And that's where we are. I think that it's important to have this discussion because at where the protocol is right now, it's evolving and being built. So if the protocol is evolving and being built, that means that our influence and our input is being evolved and being built into the protocol. So all of these discussions that we're having with ILG amongst each other on Twitter and all of these circles, there is a consensus happening. The community is boiling all of this down, and then eventually the engineers take that, just like they take the research papers from, you know, the ILG research faculty, and they bring it into the code. What's also happening now is it's not just them coming into the code, because we see their faults as well. What's also coming into the code is this discussion. Single pool operators fighting for decentralization, multi-pool operators sharing with us the importance of building healthy business. And how do we find a balance that is centric on the community expanding and serving its customers, but also taking care of its infrastructure? Part of what the multi-pools are telling us is that if everyone treats this as a hobby, it will fail. If everyone treats this as a business, it will fail. We need a balance of people who are coming in from an idealistic philosophical level and people who are coming in from a practical level, and watch how they meet and see what kinds of solutions come from their discussions. Because what you're going to get is something that is self-sustaining so that it can provide a backbone through a legacy of time, multi-generational. Our kids' kids are going to be doing this. But the only way our kids' kids are going to be doing this is if we can provide them with a sustainable model. If we over-idealize decentralization, we're always going to be philosophically discussing and have no traction. We won't have that discussion in the infrastructure. This discussion has got to get into the code. And I believe that when the roadmap is completed and Voltaire is successfully implemented, we will have a mechanism for allowing consensus to happen and to also censor the influence that aggregated centralized stake has in that consensus, right? So whatever the system is that we build, it has to be a system that feels equitable and has a direct democracy, meaning you can vote on the change that you want yourself with your ADA directly onto the ballot. You can also delegate your voting power to someone else. Those two options, if we can keep that, we're golden, bro. We're golden.
But what good is Voltaire when companies like Binance have like 12% of the total supply in their custody? Binance must be like a CMP, a corporate multi-pool operator. You know, they've got 63 pools and like I said, custody of 12% of the total supply.
Okay, that's 12%. That's not enough to win, but it's certainly enough to put a lot of power and influence behind something.
It could control catalyst voting as of right now. Like they can do that right now. They can just take over catalyst voting and make everything go their way. Downvote whatever they don't like.
They have a ton of vote. So here's why Voltaire is so important. Because the way to compensate for that voting power is to have consensus around something that is healthy for the ecosystem and voting with that influence. So what Voltaire does is it brings more people together under the consensus that is best for the community. So even if you have Binance voting with their power, you have the rest of the community voting to offset and counterbalance that to make sure that the single entity can never drive the ecosystem's direction. The only way to pull that off is with something like Voltaire. What Voltaire is going to do is make sure that the community's governance model has enough influences and enough consensus and a mechanism for educating and making the voting population aware of what the principles are, aware of what their choices are, and aware of the influence that a pool like Binance might be having already at that point, so that they can offset and counterbalance and drive the ship in the direction of consensus and not just Binance. Version of early inception of Voltaire is the catalyst ecosystem. That's what the catalyst ecosystem is. And
it's
because
pre-Voltaire, basically, yeah.
It's pre-Voltaire. And we're learning. Look at what we learned this last, cycle of Catalyst Circle and the Catalyst ecosystem. There was centralizing happening. There's power corruption in Catalyst advisors. There was, bias in the way they were reviewing proposals. A lot of proposals weren't being reviewed because they weren't favored to win. In their view, Catalyst advisors were allowed to pick and choose proposals and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I think we're coming to the end because it's going back to you being, you're a charity pool and 100% of your profits are going to charity.
Yes.
You're in profit. So how many scoops are you getting? How's that all working?
Okay, let me.
And how much are you making per scoop?
Not so good in the last 100 scoops. I only have 2. So over the last hour, it's about 100. It's about 100 scoops an hour right now is our average. It looks like.
Because I think the maximum is about 240, maybe
100 scoops an hour. And out of those, I've made 2 out of 100. 2 is it's half of the average for that time period. The average for that time period is 5.
How much do you get per scoop?
A scoop can contain up to 6 escrows or 6 orders. So each escrow is 1.35 ADA. You can have up to 6 escrows inside of a scoop. And there seems to be, it changes. So it's 1.35 ADA for the first order. But if you have a scoop that has 6 orders in it, you get 13 ADA for that one scoop.
So how many escrows have you processed?
My performance, I'm actually doing very well, considering that I only have 1 block producer, right? I only have 1 block producer. Some of these guys have like 5 or more. And so their performance can be better. Once I'm learning about mempool and block and how the mempools function and how you can leverage your block producing power to include more scooper transactions in your blocks, we started seeing, okay, if I full throttle, right, not complete exclusion, but 50% or more exclusion of public and include my own scooper transactions, I'm going to get a lot more scoops in my blocks with that many block producers than I would if I don't at all. What I'm shooting for is about 50% of my blocks to be public and 50% to be scooper. Okay. As we drain the backlog of the decks, I'll fall back.
So and I don't have to. So it's quite easy to say I want 100% scoops.
Very, very easy. All you have to do,
you got to see that's got to be worrying for a lot of people. So you got some of the top pool operators who make a large amount of the blocks, having with such ease the ability to say, actually, I don't care about transactions, just want scoops. And what if they all did that? So, like, the answer to your question is you don't have to do BP injection with the scooper to have scoops. And with this many scoopers and that much stake, you don't have to have any. You can just let everything move out through your relays. What we have to watch is the point of diminishing returns. I think we've covered everything. So thanks for allowing me to be interviewed and cleared up a lot of things. It was good to dig into about your charity and how your funds are being allocated, because it's a bit tricky to when someone says 100% profit. It's difficult to know what that profit is. You could just pay yourself more money and decrease your profit. Right. That's what people do, like with a limited company here in the UK. If I can decrease my profit by increasing my payroll. Right. So it's good to know that, for anyone who is watching that, Epoch 240, you were in profit. And so, and then now they can have, the correct expectations of what sort of, donations you'll be making to Save the Children, which which is an awesome charity as well. So I think that's going to be good, and I look forward to seeing it, and seeing more pictures on the wall.
Me too, man. I'm trying to decide.
Maybe whole villages I want to see up there.
I started when I was reading the letters from the children and looking at their pictures. I can see that we're working at this point with what appear to be about 3 villages, maybe 4. Which is nice. It's more concentrated, more of an impact. Some of these children are probably talking to each other, and they probably, talking about receiving this. And so
we're talking about Ray.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing they know my name. I hope so at this point. And
I hope so. I hope so too, man. No, I think it's a really good cause. No, it's been really great talking to you, man. It was really good to finally speak to you as well. And
thank you.
It's good to hear about Sundaeswap, more about your charity. Yeah, and I hope and I wish you all well in the future.
Thank you, bro. You asked great questions. I'm sorry the internet connection on your side wasn't so great today.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. So please do like, share, support. We would love to hear your comments below on anything that was said. And if you could further support us, do consider delegating your ADA to Swag, Zod or ATM. I'm Josh from ATM, and thanks for now, and I'll speak to you soon.